Across 1,000 years of European history, a ladder of names decided who ruled, who fought, and who shaped daily life. These ranks were practical tools of government, instruments of diplomacy, markers of honor, and anchors for identity. They evolved unevenly across forests, mountains, and courts, responding to conquest, marriage, religion, and law. Below is a clear, living tour of 14 distinct noble positions, each placed in its social and historical context, so you can feel how the system actually worked. Emperor. The emperor stood above kings as a claim to universal or multi-kingdom authority. That claim could be ideological, military, or sacral. Emperors were expected to arbitrate between powerful kings, legitimize dynasties, and sometimes lead multi-ethnic coalitions. Their courts gathered envoys from distant realms. Their proclamations could rewrite borders when backed by force. Emperors also harvested symbolic capital from antiquity and religion, invoking the mantle of Rome or receiving papal sanction to amplify prestige. The title signaled an ambition to order many peoples under one legal and ceremonial roof. King. Kings ruled people and territory as recognized sovereigns. The nature of kingship varied, elective or hereditary, centralized or federated, absolute or constrained by customs and assemblies. Kings enforced justice, commanded armies, and anchored diplomacy through dynastic marriages. They cultivated an image of singular leadership, crowned in cathedrals, issuing charters, and maintaining households that modeled royal hierarchy. The king's power was as much about ritual projection and legitimacy as about administrative capacity. Archduke. Archduke emerged as a dynastic instrument, a ducal title amplified to signal special primacy within a family network. It rarely created independent states. Instead, it clarified precedents in imperial courts and marriage politics. When a dynasty like the Habsburgs styled many male line members as archdukes, they built an internal hierarchy that helped manage succession, territorial claims, and representation in multinational assemblies. Grand Duke. Grand Dukes presided over territories recognized as sovereign, but smaller than full kingdoms. The title often surfaced in the early modern and Napoleonic reorderings of Europe, when diplomatic recognition mattered. Grand duchies showed how flexible rank could be in the age of treaties. A state might be treated like a kingdom in some forums, while internally keeping ducal administrative habits. The rank bridged local autonomy with the international language of monarchy. Prince. Prince is inherently plural in meaning. It named sovereign rulers of microstates and independent principalities, defined members of reigning dynasties, and described magnates who held electoral or federal power inside larger polities. Princes might be princes of the blood, implying succession rights, or territorial princes who exercised near-sovereign governance in their domains. The word encapsulates mobility. A family could be princely by descent, princely by treaty, or princely by accumulation of offices. Duke. Dukes commonly governed major provinces and were a political class in their own right. Their economic base, large estates, urban revenues, and control of trade routes allowed them to maintain private armies and elaborate courts. Dukes were often the state builders of medieval and early modern Europe, shaping regional law, patronizing culture, and forging alliances that could tilt continental balance. In moments of royal weakness, dukes frequently acted as power brokers, making and unmaking kings. Marquis, margrave, marquis. These frontier lords combined governance and defense. The March was a zone of heightened military importance. Its rulers had exceptional prerogatives to fortify, conscript, and negotiate with neighbors. Because marches lay on the edge of political order, their lords developed administrative flexibility, expedient justice, wartime mobility, and infrastructural initiatives. The title thus signals not only rank, but a specialized function within a territorial system. Count, Earl, Graf, Conde. Counts administered counties as judicial, fiscal, and military centers. In many regions, they represented the sovereign's authority at a remove, dispensing justice, collecting taxes, and organizing levies. The English earl preserved older Anglo-Saxon institutions, while continental counts adapted Roman and Germanic precedents. The vitality of a county depended on local customs, market towns, and control of communication corridors. Counts balanced local autonomy and service obligations in ways that made regional governance resilient. Viscount. Viscounts began as viceroys or deputies and crystallized into hereditary office holders. Their responsibilities ranged from managing subdivisions of a county to overseeing mercantile districts in later periods. The rank indicates administrative delegation. A viscount could act for higher nobles in court and military matters, blending judicial duties with everyday governance. Their social status made them essential intermediaries between magnates and village elites. Baron, Freiherrn. Barons were the core of feudal hierarchy, direct tenants of a sovereign with duties of counsel and military support. Their landholdings varied, and so did their influence. Some barons commanded strategic castles and exercised quasi-sovereign rights. Others held modest manors and performed local justice. The baronial class fed the monarchy with cavalry and counsel, and in turn it produced a dense web of obligations, marriages, and feudal law that held medieval society together. Knight, Chevalier, Ritter. Knighthood fused military utility and cultural ideals. Knights were not merely soldiers, they embodied a personal bond of service to a lord, often formalized by ceremony. Knighthood created a ladder of honor open to lesser nobility and even capable commoners. Its social capital rested on valor, patronage, and the ability to maintain arms and retinues. Over time, the military necessity of knights shifted, but their social prestige persisted in orders of chivalry and aristocratic culture. Lord of the Manor, Laird, Signor. These titles describe landed authority rooted in a specific estate rather than a seat in a peerage. Manorial lords exercised economic and juridical power over tenants, administered local custom, and maintained the social infrastructure of rural life. Their influence was granular. They supervised harvest schedules, managed commons, and adjudicated petty disputes, shaping how ordinary people experienced noble power daily. Baronet. The baronet represents a hybrid, hereditary honor without peerage privileges. Created largely in early modern England to raise funds and reward servility, baronet became a social badge of respectability. It granted its holder hereditary precedence and a formal dignity that positioned families for marriage alliances and local leadership while stopping short of legislative entitlement in the upper house. Untitled nobility. Many noble families never adopted grand titles, yet possessed landed wealth, official appointments, and social cachet. They sustained elite networks through office holding, marriage strategies, and regional patronage. Nobles filled administrative ranks, led provincial institutions, and often formed the backbone of bureaucratic modernization. Their power was diffuse but durable, embedded in regional elites rather than concentrated in princely courts. These ranks shaped institutions as much as identities. They organized military recruitment, structured courts, and framed diplomatic language. They gave families trajectories, ascent through marriage and royal favor, or descent through conflict and bankruptcy.
Across the centuries, the legal weight of titles changed. Wars, revolutions, and constitutional reforms removed many privileges, while ceremonial memory and social prestige often persisted. Today, the names remain powerful symbols of lineage and public ritual. Sometimes they appear on passports, in ceremonial orders, and in the names of institutions. Other times, they survive only in house histories and the careful wording of family archives. Which of these ranks would you like to explore in depth next, and should the deep dive focus on legal power, cultural life, or visual emblems and regalia? Tell me which rank, and I'll prepare a focused episode that brings law, ritual, and daily life into sharp relief.